I used to believe that nothing in this world could truly shock me anymore. I had lived 53 years, raised a son alone, survived heartbreaks, survived bills I couldn't pay, survived the loneliness of empty bedrooms and holidays where the only voices in the house were the ones on TV. But nothing could have prepared me for the sight I saw the day my son came home to introduce me to the woman he wanted to marry. Her name was Alyssa, and she looked like me. Not similar, not slightly familiar, not a vibe. No, she looked like she could have been my twin in my late 20s. Same warm caramel skin, same almond-shaped eyes, same stubborn curls that never stayed in a bun, same slightly crooked smile, same dimple only on the right cheek. I remember standing frozen in the doorway of my small Indianapolis home, still holding the dish towel I'd been using when I heard the knock. My son, Jordan, looked proud, his handsome face glowing, dimples deep, his tall frame wrapped around this woman as if she were the final missing piece of his life. "Mom," he said, "this is the woman I'm going to marry." My throat tightened, my pulse jumped, and for a second, I swear the air left the room. Alyssa stepped forward and smiled a smile I used to have before life wore it down. "Hi, Ms. Monica," she said softly. "I've heard so much about you." Her voice was gentle, warm. I knew that voice. My younger self had spoken that way before life forced me into louder, harder tones. I whispered back, I've heard nothing about you." It slipped out. I didn't mean for it to sound cold, but it did. Jordan stiffened, and Alyssa's smile trembled before recovering. I opened the door wider, motioning them in. When they stepped inside, I moved to close the door, then caught a glimpse of our reflections in the glass. Her face beside mine. It took everything in me not to gasp. I didn't welcome her. I couldn't. Not yet. As they sat on the couch, I stayed standing, pretending I needed to keep wiping the countertop just so I could stare without them noticing. Because something was wrong. Terribly wrong. Jordan had dated all kinds of women, nothing like me, ever. So why her? Why someone who looked like she could have been made from my reflection? My stomach twisted. Was my son replacing me? Was he choosing a version of me who didn't have tired eyes, stretch marks, and calloused hands from cleaning hotel rooms for years? Or worse? Was there a story I didn't know? A connection? A secret? "So," I finally said, forcing myself to breathe, "how did you two meet?" Jordan smiled the way he used to when he brought home Az from school. "In Chicago?" he said. "Remember that work conference I told you about? She was the event coordinator." Alyssa laughed softly. "He spilled coffee on a client's contract, and I helped save it with a hairdryer." Jordan nudged her playfully. "Hey, I was nervous. She was too pretty." They were adorable, beautiful, perfect. So why was my chest tightening as if someone were squeezing my ribs from the inside? Alyssa looked at me gently. "Ms. Monica, I know this is a lot. It's a lot for me too. When I first met Jordan, I had no idea I looked like his mother." Jordan snorted, embarrassed. "Mom, I swear, I didn't even notice. People said something later, but—" "Jordan," I cut him off. "Look at us." He did, then slowly. I watched something shift in his eyes. Recognition, realization, shock. "Oh my God," he breathed. Alyssa placed a hand on his knee. "It's okay, baby." My skin prickled. Baby. She called him baby. I suddenly felt like a stranger in my own living room. I needed to escape. "I'm going to make tea," I muttered, heading into the kitchen. But once I reached the counter, my hands began shaking uncontrollably. The kettle slipped. I caught it just in time, but the clang echoed through the house. I gripped the counter until my knuckles turned white. Why did this hurt? Why did this feel like betrayal? Why did this feel like loss? Was I losing my son? Or was I losing something inside myself I didn't even know was still alive? A moment later, footsteps approached softly. It was Alyssa. "Ms. Monica?" she whispered. "Can we talk? Woman to woman?" I stiffened. I didn't want to talk to her. Not yet. Not while she wore my younger face. But I nodded. She stepped closer, not invading my space, but close enough to show courage. "I'm not trying to replace you," she said gently. I know this is strange, for all of us, but I want you to know something." I kept my eyes on the floor. "I'm not with Jordan because he sees you in me," she said. "I'm with him because he sees me." Her words cracked something in me. I looked up. Her eyes, my eyes, were full of sincerity. "I swear to you," she said, voice trembling slightly. "I'm not trying to take your place." My throat tightened. My lips trembled. But before I could respond, Jordan walked in with a worried expression. "Everything okay?" I wiped my face, even though no tears had fallen yet. "Yes," I forced out. "Everything's fine." But it wasn't. Not even close. And when Alyssa stepped forward to hug me, the scent of her hair conditioner triggered something deep, buried, painful, something I hadn't thought about in decades. A memory, a vague one, a name, a place, a hospital, a child. And suddenly, my vision blurred. I gasped, stumbled, held the counter for support. "Mom!" Jordan grabbed my arm. Alyssa stepped back in alarm. The room spun, my breath came short. Because in that moment, I realized something terrifying. I knew a girl who looked like Alyssa, and she wasn't me. Not exactly. But before the truth could fully surface, everything went black. I woke to the sound of frantic voices, the smell of rubbing alcohol, and the sharp sting of a bright fluorescent light overhead. For a split second, I forgot who I was, where I was, what had happened. Then everything rushed back. Alyssa's face, Jordan's arm around her, that familiarity, that impossible resemblance, that memory spark, like something trying to claw its way up from the deepest part of my past. "Mom, Mom, can you hear me?" Jordan's voice cracked beside me. I blinked, my vision clearing enough to see his worried face hovering above mine. "I'm okay," I whispered, though my body felt heavy and cold. A nurse appeared. "You fainted, ma'am, but your vitals look good now." I sat up slowly, my head spinning. Alyssa stood in the corner, wringing her hands, her face pale with worry. "I'm so sorry," she whispered. "I didn't mean to." "It wasn't you," I lied. "It was her, but not for the reason she thought." The nurse left us alone, and Jordan immediately sat on the edge of the bed. "Mom, you scared me." His voice shook. "Are you sure you're okay?" I reached out and squeezed his hand. "I'm fine, baby." Alyssa's eyes softened at the word baby, as if the way I said it told her more about my relationship with Jordan than anything else could. But I wasn't fine. I wasn't even close. The memory that wouldn't go away. When we returned home, Alyssa insisted on cooking dinner. For comfort, she said. I let her, even though the last thing I felt was comfort. I sat on the couch wrapped in a blanket while Jordan hovered like I was made of glass. And all the while, that memory kept teasing me. A hospital room, A tiny hand, a girl, a decision I never wanted to make. But that was decades ago, a lifetime ago, before Jordan, before Indiana, before the version of me he knew. My heart hammered painfully. It couldn't be. Surely not. Not after all these years. Mom, what really happened? Jordan sat beside me, searching my face. I've seen you tired, angry, stressed, but that... He swallowed hard. That was something else. What's going on? I shook my head quickly. Nothing, just low blood sugar. Mom. He touched my arm. Don't lie to me, not now. Alyssa peeked in from the kitchen, her voice shaky. Maybe I should go? No, Jordan said firmly. You're family. I flinched. Family. The word hit me like a bruise. Alyssa stepped into the living room slowly, carefully, like she was afraid of breaking me again. Ms. Monica, can I ask something? She said softly. I nodded, even though I wasn't ready. Do you know someone who looks like me? My heart dropped. Jordan turned to me sharply. Mom? I swallowed hard. My voice wavered. I knew. Someone. A long time ago. The truth sat on my tongue like a stone I couldn't lift. The air grew heavy, almost suffocating. Alyssa knelt on the rug in front of me, close but not too close, her gaze full of sincerity. Please, she whispered. Just tell us. But I couldn't. Not yet. Because saying it out loud would make the past real again. Jordan rubbed his forehead anxiously. Mom, are you telling me this has something to do with her looking like you? Because I don't want any secrets in my marriage. I'm not trying to ruin your marriage, I snapped. He recoiled slightly, hurt by my tone. Alyssa placed a gentle hand on his knee, and my heart twisted. She was kind, too gentle, too familiar. Dinner was quiet, too quiet. Alyssa made pasta with basil and lemon, my favorite. But I barely ate. Jordan tried to fill the silence with meaningless chatter about work, but his voice was strained, his eyes flicking to me every few seconds. Finally, he gave up and pushed his plate away. Mom, if there's something we need to know, say it. Alyssa looked at me with those soft eyes, my eyes, and I had to look away before emotion choked me. I need time, I whispered. Jordan slumped back. Mom, I need time, I repeated, firmer. Alyssa reached across the table, her fingers trembling as she touched my hand. Ms. Monica, I'm not here to take your son from you. You matter to him, you matter to me. Her touch was warm, comforting, painful, and suddenly, a sob climbed up my chest, raw, involuntary, and I jerked my hand back, covering my mouth before the sound escaped. Alyssa's eyes widened with alarm. Jordan was instantly beside me, pulling me into his arms. Mom, what's wrong? I clung to him, pressing my forehead against his shoulder as the tears finally spilled. I don't know, I cried. I don't know anymore. Alyssa knelt beside us, placing a gentle hand on my arm, her voice breaking. Please, tell us what's hurting you. But I couldn't tell them, not yet, because the truth was forming in fragments inside me, pieces of a puzzle I'd buried deep for survival. That night, I made a decision I couldn't sleep. I kept seeing Alyssa's face in the dark, and behind her face, the memory of another girl, small, fragile, with eyes too old for her age. A girl I had once held, a girl I had once kissed goodbye, a girl I had lost long before Jordan was born. My chest ached, my throat burned. I had to know, I had to be sure, and there was only one way to find out. So the next morning, Before Jordan and Alyssa woke up, I grabbed my phone, stepped out onto the porch, and made a call I hadn't made in decades. A call I promised myself I would never make again. My hands trembled as the line rang. Once, twice, 3 times. Then, "Hello?" A familiar voice answered, older now, but unmistakable. My breath caught. "It's me," I whispered. A stunned silence, then, "Monica, after all these years, why are you calling?" I closed my eyes as my heart cracked open. "I need to know," I said, my voice shaking. "That girl, the one I left behind, did she ever find her birth records?" The voice on the other end went quiet. Dead quiet. Then finally, with a tremor, "Monica, why are you asking now?" I stared into the rising sun, my stomach twisting violently. "Because," I whispered, "I think she may be sitting in my kitchen." The voice on the other end of the line didn't answer immediately. Only the faint background noise, papers shuffling, someone breathing, filled the silence. I gripped the phone tighter, my hand trembling. "Please," I whispered, "just tell me the truth." Finally, the voice spoke, soft, careful, almost afraid. "Monica, yes, she searched. She looked for you for years." My chest caved inward. I pressed a hand to it as if that would stop the shattering inside me. "Oh, God," I breathed. She filed inquiries. She tried to access her adoption records. She sent letters to our agency. She even hired a private investigator for a while. My stomach twisted painfully. "What happened to her?" I whispered. Another pause, longer, heavier. "She stopped searching after she turned 18. The investigator found no trace of you because you had moved states. We lost contact with you too. She gave up." My throat closed, turning my voice into a rasp. "Did she ever ask for me? By name?" "Yes," he said softly. "A lot." My legs wobbled. I leaned against the porch railing, fighting the wave of nausea crashing through me. I had told myself that giving her away was for her safety, for her future, for her survival. I had told myself she would be better off without me, that her adoptive family would give her everything I couldn't. But I had never imagined she'd look for me, that she'd want me, that she'd carry my face into adulthood. Now that face was in my kitchen, laughing with my son, wearing the smile I used to have. The voice on the phone hesitated. "Monica, why are you asking this now?" My breath trembled. "Because," I whispered, "my son, he's getting married to a girl named Alyssa, and she looks exactly like me." "And I need to know," my voice broke. "Is her birth name Amanda?" There was a gasp. "Oh my God, Monica, how do you know that name?" My heart dropped. The world went silent except for the distant hum of passing cars. I held the phone to my ear, dizzy, hollow, terrified. "Because," I whispered, "I think Alyssa is my daughter." I couldn't hear anything after that. The voice was still talking, explaining, confirming, unraveling 28 years of silence. But I heard none of it. My mind had stopped functioning. Alyssa, my son's fiancée. The woman I couldn't look at without feeling something crack. The woman who looked like a younger clone of me. She wasn't just similar. She wasn't coincidence. She wasn't fate. She was blood, flesh, bone, my baby. The one I gave up before I turned 25, the one I never held long enough, the one I abandoned because I was drowning and alone and terrified. My vision blurred, My knees buckled. I slid down onto the porch step as the sun climbed higher, warming a world that suddenly felt unbearably cold. My daughter, my son, together. My stomach lurched, bile rising. I clutched the phone tighter, shaking all over. She doesn't know, the voice added quietly. Her adoptive parents never told her the details, only that her birth mother was young and unable to care for her. She never saw a photo. My heart shattered further. She doesn't know, I whispered back. No, but I know this is a lot, Monica. You'll have to be careful. For everyone's sake. Careful. As if that word could protect anyone from this nightmare. I disconnected the call. I didn't remember pressing the button. Didn't remember lowering the phone to my lap. All I remembered was the crushing weight pressing against my lungs. When I walked back inside, I felt like I was moving through water. Alyssa stood at the stove, humming softly while stirring scrambled eggs. Jordan was pulling plates from the cabinet, smiling at her, teasing her about the way she flipped the spatula. They looked happy, normal, safe. A picture-perfect morning. My heart twisted painfully. 2 parts pride, 1 part agony. How could something so horrifying be wrapped in something so beautiful? I must have looked different, pale, shaken, hollow, because Jordan noticed immediately. Mom, he said, stepping toward me. Are you okay? I opened my mouth. Nothing came out. Alyssa turned, her curls bouncing as she looked at me with my mother's eyes. The eyes I once saw in the mirror every morning before life dulled them. Ms. Monica? She asked softly. Did something happen? Something happened. Everything happened. The truth sat in my throat like a stone too heavy to swallow. But I couldn't tell them. Not yet. Not until I was certain. Not until I knew what to do. Not until I understood how to break the truth without breaking the people I loved most. So I forced a smile. A terrible, trembling, fake smile. I'm fine. I lied. Alyssa watched me a little too long, concern knitting her eyebrows. I avoided her eyes. I couldn't look at her face. Not when it was mine. Not when it was hers. Not when I wasn't sure which hurt more. Breakfast was quiet. The 3 of us sat at the table, Jordan talking about wedding plans, Alyssa nodding along, her hand slipping into his. She kept glancing at me, curious, nervous, almost hopeful. I couldn't look back. Fear gnawed at my insides. Finally, Alyssa reached across the table, placing her hand lightly over mine. Ms. Monica, she said gently, I don't know what's wrong, but whatever it is, you're not alone. I'm here for you. My breath hitched, her touch, her warmth, her sincerity. It was too much. I pulled my hand back sharply. Alyssa flinched as if I'd slapped her. Jordan stared in shock. Mom, he whispered, what's going on with you? I shook my head, tears burning behind my eyes. I need to go lie down, I muttered, standing abruptly. Alyssa pushed her chair back. Did I do something wrong? Her voice cracked, soft, fragile. My heart splintered. No, I whispered. It's not you, it's everything. Then I rushed down the hallway to my room, closed the door, and finally, let myself break. I sobbed until my ribs hurt. Silent sobs at first. Then the kind that shake your entire body and soak the pillow beneath you. I cried for the child I gave up, for the daughter I lost, for the woman who found her way back to me without knowing it, and for the bitter, impossible truth. My son, my sweet, gentle Jordan, might be in love with the sister he never knew existed. I don't know how long I cried. Time didn't exist inside those walls. Only guilt, fear, and memories I had spent decades burying. At some point, I heard Jordan's voice outside the door. "Mom, please talk to us. You're scaring us." Alyssa's voice followed, soft but hurting. "Ms. Monica, I'm so sorry if I did something wrong. Please tell me." Their voices were muffled through the wood. They stayed for minutes, maybe even an hour, knocking softly, whispering please, trying to reach me. But I couldn't open the door. Not yet. Not until I figured out how to tear down their world without destroying them completely. Eventually, their footsteps faded. Silence filled the hallway. Only then did I force myself to sit up. My hair stuck to my face. My eyes burned. My breath felt shallow and uneven. I felt like I was grieving two lives at once. The one I lived and the one I lost. A memory I never wanted to relive. I closed my eyes and let the memory return. The one I had smothered for so long I thought it had died. I was 24, broke, homeless for a week after leaving a man who nearly destroyed me. Terrified of repeating my own childhood. I had no family, no home, no safety. Only a newborn girl with big, solemn eyes and a birthmark on her wrist. One I traced 100 times during those 3 days I held her. 3 days. That's all I got. I remember the social worker telling me, sometimes love means choosing the life they deserve, not the one you can offer. I didn't believe her, but I had nothing, not even a crib or warm formula. I remember signing the papers, my hand shaking so hard the signature looked like a stranger's. I remember telling myself, one day, I'll find her again, when I'm stable, when I'm strong, when I'm someone worthy. Then life swept me up. Jobs, bills, survival, then Jordan. And the guilt of what I'd done became something I hid deep inside, like a wound I never allowed to heal. Until now, until Alyssa. The sun was setting when I finally emerging from the room. Jordan and Alyssa were sitting on the couch, whispering in low tones. They both stood the second they saw me. "Mom," Jordan said gently, "please, tell us what's wrong." Alyssa took a step closer, her face pale with worry. "Ms. Monica," she whispered, "I don't want you to be scared of me." That was enough to make my heart crack again. Scared of her? I wasn't scared of her. I was terrified for her. I swallowed hard and forced my legs to move. "I need to talk to both of you," I said quietly. Jordan instantly guided me to the couch. Alyssa sat on my other side, resting her hand carefully on the cushion, not touching me, but close enough to show she was present. I drew a shaking breath. This was it, the beginning of the unraveling. "I made a call this morning," I started. Alyssa's eyebrows knitted in confusion. Jordan looked from her to me, sensing the gravity. "Who did you call?" he asked. My voice trembled. "The adoption agency." Alyssa blinked. Jordan froze. A long, heavy silence filled the room. Jordan spoke first, his voice low. "Mom, what adoption agency?" I looked at my hands, trembling, wrinkled, aging hands, and then at Alyssa's, smooth, young, familiar. "The one I used when I was 24, I whispered. "The one where I placed a little girl." Alyssa inhaled sharply. Jordan's mouth fell open. I continued before I lost my courage. "She was born early. I wasn't ready. I didn't have a home. I thought I was doing the right thing." Alyssa reached for my hand, and this time, I didn't pull away. Her fingers were warm. grounding. "Miss Monica?" she whispered. "You had a daughter?" I nodded, tears slipping down my cheeks. "I did." Jordan ran a shaky hand through his hair, processing. "But why are you telling us this now?" I forced myself to look directly at Alyssa, face to face, eyes locked. "Because," I whispered, "I asked if she ever looked for me." Alyssa stared, breath unsteady. "And?" she asked. My voice broke. "She did." Alyssa's eyes filled. Jordan's jaw tightened with emotion. "And then," I continued, "I asked for her birth name." Alyssa swallowed hard. "Ms. Monica, what was it?" I closed my eyes. "Amanda." The room went still, completely still. Then a sound escaped Alyssa, a tiny gasp, like air leaving a balloon. Jordan stared at her in shock. "Amanda?" he whispered. "Your middle name is Amanda." Alyssa trembled. "Not just my middle name," she whispered. "It was my original name. My adoptive mom told me once. That's why I chose Alyssa later." My chest caved in. Jordan's eyes widened with horror. "Alyssa," he said shakily. "How old were you when they adopted you?" Her voice was barely a breath. "I was 3 days old." Jordan turned to me. I turned to her. Alyssa covered her mouth, tears streaming. "Ms. Monica?" She choked. Are you saying I'm—" My voice shattered completely. "Yes," I cried. "My daughter! You're my daughter!" Alyssa collapsed into sobs, falling forward, and I caught her, my arms wrapping around her instinctively, decades of empty space between us finally closing. We held each other, shaking, crying, clinging like two broken halves that had finally found home. Jordan watched, stunned, pale, breathless. But then, a new horror flooded his face. "Wait," he whispered, stepping back, trembling violently. "If Alyssa is your daughter, and I'm your son, does that mean—" I snapped my head up, panic slicing through me. "No," I said quickly, desperately. "Jordan, no, you're not related by blood." Both of them froze. Alyssa's sobbing paused. Jordan stared at me, confused. "What?" My voice trembled. "Jordan, I had Alyssa before I met your father, before I moved here, before my entire life changed." His eyes widened slowly as the truth sank in. "You two," I whispered urgently, "are not siblings." Alyssa covered her shaking mouth again, sobbing harder, this time out of overwhelming relief mixed with pain. Jordan collapsed onto the coffee table, burying his face in his hands. "Oh my God," he breathed. "Oh my God." The relief was real, but so was the devastation. Because while they weren't siblings, Alyssa was still my daughter, which meant the world had twisted itself in a way none of us could have imagined. Alyssa lifted her head slowly. Her face was streaked with tears, lips trembling. "Ms. Monica," she whispered, voice cracking. "You're my mom." Hearing it, after 28 years, shook me from the inside out. I nodded through tears. "Yes, baby," I whispered, pulling her against me. She sobbed into my shoulder. Jordan wiped his face, his voice breaking. "So what do we do now?" I looked at him, at Alyssa, at the impossible disaster wrapped in fate. "I don't know," I whispered honestly. "But we're going to figure it out together," narrated by Monica. The next morning, I woke to a strange stillness. No birds, no cars, no faint hum of life outside the window. Just silence. My head ached from last night's crying. My eyelashes felt stiff from dried tears. I sat up slowly, the blanket slipping off my shoulder. For a moment, I forgot everything. And then it all returned at once, like a punch in the chest. Liam's confession, his pain, the way he clung to me like he was drowning, my own guilt ripping me apart. My breath grew uneven again. I pressed my hand to my chest, whispering to myself like I used to after my divorce. Monica, breathe. Just breathe. I got up and walked to the kitchen. The house still smelled faintly like lavender candle. A mug was sitting on the counter, washed and placed upside down. Liam always cleaned after himself. Even now he was 27. He still did that because he said it made Mom happy. My heart twisted again. I poured coffee, but my hands were shaking so badly I spilled some. I gripped the counter with both palms and leaned forward, trying to calm myself. That's when I felt a presence in the doorway. I turned. Liam. He stood there with messy hair, swollen eyes, a hoodie pulled close around him. He looked like he hadn't slept either. We stared at each other for what felt like minutes. Then he said softly, "Mom, can we talk?" I nodded, even though every part of me was afraid. We sat at the kitchen table, not side by side, across from each other, a distance we never had in all his life. My heart broke at that distance. He exhaled shakily. "Mom, I need to explain something, and you can't interrupt, please." I nodded again. His hands trembled, but his voice stayed steady. "I didn't marry you. I married comfort." "I didn't fall in love with her because she looked like you, Mom," he said. "I fell in love because she felt like you." My throat tightened. "You've been my anchor my whole life," he continued. "Anytime I was scared, frustrated, lost, you were the only one who made me feel safe. Home wasn't a place. It was you." I blinked, tears already burning. He swallowed hard. "When Dad left us, I thought I had to step up. I thought I had to be the man of the house. But I was just a kid, Mom, and I was scared all the time. You never showed how scared you were, but I saw it, and I wanted to protect you." A tear slid down my cheek. "Mom, I married someone who gave me the same peace you always gave me, the same comfort, the same unconditional love." His voice cracked. "But when you two stood together, my brain made a connection I couldn't unsee. And then the guilt started eating me alive, because it felt like I married a version of my mother." He covered his face with both hands. And I realized something is broken inside me. My heart shattered and healed at the same time. I reached across the table and held his wrists gently. "Liam, baby, look at me." He looked up with eyes red and glassy. "You are not broken." He shook his head. "Mom, no," I whispered. "You are not broken. You're hurting. You've been hurt for years, and you've been carrying that pain alone." He lowered his gaze. I wiped his cheek with my thumb. "You never married me. You married someone who made you feel safe. You married someone who reminded you of love, not of your mother." His shoulders slumped as if I just took 50 pounds off him. "And Liam?" "Yes, I am not angry at you." His breath hitched. "You're not?" "No, baby. I am sad. I am heartbroken. I am scared for you." "But I'm not angry." Tears fell from his chin. "I thought you'd hate me," he whispered. "Oh, sweetheart." I moved to the other chair beside him and wrapped my arms around him. He hugged me like he did when he was 6 years old and had nightmares. He sobbed into my shoulder. I stroked his back. "I could never hate you. You should. I won't. You deserve better than a son like me. Oh, Liam, don't ever say that again. He clung to me harder. We stayed like that for a long time, mother and son, breaking together, healing together, breathing through years of unspoken pain. But when he finally let go, he asked the one question that terrified me. He wiped his eyes, sat back, and looked down at his hands. Mom. Yes? His voice trembled. Do you want me to divorce her? My heart dropped to my stomach. He wasn't asking because he wanted to. He wasn't asking because he stopped loving her. He was asking because he thought he owed it to me. He was asking because he believed he had failed me. He was asking because he thought I'd be relieved, and I didn't have an answer. My lips parted, but no words came out. He watched me with expectation, fear, guilt, and love, all twisting inside him. Mom, please, he whispered. Tell me what to do. I looked at my grown son, and for the first time in my life, I had no idea how to protect him. Narrated by Monica. The moment Liam asked that question, do you want me to divorce her? Something inside me cracked open. Not a small crack, not a quick sting, a deep, painful fracture that went all the way through my chest, because I could feel the weight of the question behind his eyes. He wasn't asking for advice. He was asking for permission. Permission to tear his life apart. Permission to punish himself. Permission to remove someone he genuinely loved just to make me feel less uncomfortable. I opened my mouth, but my throat closed. How do you answer something like that? What kind of mother would I be? If I said yes? If I said no? If I said anything at all? I felt dizzy, and then something unexpected happened. Liam reached across the table and grabbed my hand. His grip was desperate, trembling, almost childlike. Mom, he whispered, just tell me what will make you okay. I'll do it. My chest tightened so sharply I thought I might faint. He meant it. My son truly meant it. He was willing to break his own heart to fix mine. Baby, how long have you felt this way? I finally found my voice, though it sounded like it belonged to someone else. Liam, sweetheart, how long has this been eating at you? He looked away. Since the wedding. My stomach dropped. He continued softly. Every time you hugged her? Every time you complimented her? Every time someone joked that she looked like your younger twin? He swallowed hard. I felt sick. I leaned forward. Why didn't you tell me? He laughed bitterly. I didn't want to ruin it. I wanted her. I loved her. And I wasn't supposed to feel weird about it. But I did. And the more I tried to ignore it, the worse it got. He ran a shaking hand through his hair. And when she started asking me why I seemed distant, I told her I was stressed from work. But the truth was, he looked at me with hollow eyes. I was terrified she would notice the resemblance and confront me about it, and then I'd lose her, or you, or both. His voice broke completely. I've been living in emotional hell, Mom. Tears slid down my cheeks uncontrollably. Oh, Liam! He covered his face again. I thought maybe if you said it out loud, if you acknowledged the resemblance, it would free me. But when you said nothing, I thought maybe I was imagining it. Until last night. He lowered his hands and looked at me with so much vulnerability it nearly killed me. You saw it too. Yes, I whispered. I did. The truth came out of me like a confession. Liam, when I first met her, I thought she was beautiful, kind, sweet. But when she turned her head at a certain angle, when she smiled with her eyes the way I do, I inhaled sharply. Something inside me twisted, and I ignored it. I shoved it down so deep because the alternative— My voice cracked. The alternative was too awful to consider. He blinked. What alternative? That maybe, somehow, I had failed you in a way I never even saw. That maybe my love became a crutch for you. That maybe my presence shaped your heart in a way that caused you pain instead of comfort. Liam's eyes widened. Mom, no. Yes, Liam, I whispered through tears. I was terrified that I hurt you without knowing. He grabbed my hands again. You didn't hurt me, he said firmly. You saved me. You always have. I shook my head, overwhelmed. But if you're hurting now, because of me, then maybe— No. His voice was soft but strong. Mom, stop, please. My lips trembled, but he squeezed my hands hard. You didn't fail me. You didn't break me. I broke myself by not facing what I felt sooner. The question returned like a blade. We sat there in silence for a long moment. Then Liam asked again, soft, fragile, almost whispering. Should I divorce her? And this time, I felt my answer forming somewhere deep inside me. I didn't want him to divorce her. I didn't want him to stay married to her because he felt guilty. I didn't want him to choose based on pain. I wanted him to heal, to breathe, to think clearly, to choose from strength, not trauma. So I said, Baby, I can't answer that for you. His face fell, but I continued gently. You love her. You are afraid. You are confused. You are hurting. And right now, you are not emotionally steady enough to make a decision like divorce. He stared at me, stunned. I don't want you to break something you cherish because you're panicking. He whispered, but what if staying hurts more? Then, I whispered back, we will face that together. His breath trembled. We? Even after everything I confessed? I cupped his cheek in both hands. You are my son, not my burden. He broke again, leaning into my palms like he had when he was small. But the moment of peace lasted only seconds, because he suddenly asked, Mom, do you want to meet her and talk to her about this? My heart froze. To sit across from the woman who looked like me, to talk about her marriage, to discuss something so intimate, so painful. Everything in me screamed no. But then the mother in me, the part that always rises even when my heart is breaking, whispered, if this is what your son needs, you will do it. I swallowed hard and whispered, yes, I'll talk to her. Liam exhaled shakily. She doesn't know I'm here. I nodded. And she doesn't know why you left? No, I told her I needed space. Okay. He took my hand again. Mom, thank you. But inside, I wasn't thankful. I was terrified. Terrified of seeing her. Terrified of seeing myself in her. Terrified of recognizing the truth inside me that I had buried even deeper than he had. But for Liam, I would face anything. Even the mirror I never wanted to look at. Narrated by Monica, I knocked on the bedroom door softly. No answer. I knocked again, a little louder. Ms. Monica, it's me, I whispered. Can we talk? Alyssa opened the door slowly, her curls falling over her forehead. Her eyes were wide, uncertain. I saw fear in them. Fear that I would reject her, fear that I would see her and only see myself. And in some ways, I did. Hi, she said softly. Her voice shook. You wanted to see me? I swallowed hard, feeling my throat tighten. Yes, I whispered. I think we need to talk. Just the two of us. She nodded, stepping aside to let me in. My hands shook as I closed the door behind me. I had no idea how to start. The words were trapped inside me like a dam threatening to burst. The conversation that shattered me. I sat on the edge of her bed. Alyssa sat on the opposite side, her hands folded neatly in her lap. The resemblance was unbearable. Every gesture, every twitch, every glance reminded me of the daughter I had lost. Ms. Monica? She began, voice small. I don't know what this is about. Am I in trouble? I laughed bitterly, tears spilling down my cheeks. No, sweetheart, you're not in trouble. I paused, my hands twisted in my lap. I found out this morning that you are my daughter. Her eyes widened and she took a small step toward me. What do you mean? I mean, when I was very young, I had a baby before Jordan was born. I couldn't take care of her. I made a choice to give her up for adoption. And that baby was you. Her hands flew to her mouth. You're my mother? Yes, I whispered. I am, and I didn't know how to tell you. I didn't know how to face you. Not like this. Not with everything that's happening. Her knees trembled, and she fell back onto the bed. I stepped closer, trembling as well. I know this is a lot, and you have every right to be angry, or confused, or scared. She looked at me, tears streaming down her face. I don't even know what to feel. I have a life, a fiancé, everything I thought was normal. And now, I kneeled beside her. I know, baby, I know. I'm not here to take anything from you. I had to tell you the truth, and I needed you to hear it from me. The confession that brought us together. She looked at me with wide, terrified eyes. Do you hate me for being her? For marrying Jordan? My chest constricted. No, I could never hate you. I panicked. Seeing you with him, seeing the resemblance, I didn't know how to handle it. I was scared. I was angry at fate, at myself, at all of it. But I don't hate you. I wish I could have held you, kept you safe when you were a baby. Her hand reached out slowly, almost tentatively, and rested on mine. I don't hate you either. I've always wondered about you. Even though I didn't know you, I felt something missing. And now I know what it is. I felt my heart break and mend at the same time. All the years of guilt, the silent pain, the endless nights of imagining her, it all converged in this moment. I pulled her into a hug. She sobbed into my shoulder. I wrapped my arms around her tightly, promising silently, I will never let go again. Jordan's role in our healing Jordan knocked softly on the door. Mom, Alyssa, can I come in? I nodded, stepping aside. Jordan entered, looking nervous but hopeful. He looked between us, realizing the enormity of what was happening. So, you're my mom? Alyssa asked, still clinging to me. Yes, I said, holding both of her hands now. Jordan stepped closer, placing his hands over ours. I don't even know what to say. But I want you both to know. I love you both, and we'll figure this out together. Tears streamed down all our faces. It was a moment of pure, raw emotion. The weight of years apart, the pain, the guilt, the fear, all of it seemed to dissolve into one fragile, trembling thread of connection. We sat there for hours, talking, crying, laughing through the sobs. Stories were shared, memories were reconstructed, and the bonds that had been broken by fate slowly began to stitch themselves together. The new family we had to build that night. I sat alone in my bedroom, reflecting on everything that had happened. I thought about the years I spent hiding from the truth. I thought about the daughter I had lost. I thought about the son who had loved me through all my mistakes. And I realized something important. Life had given me a second chance, a chance to build the family I had always dreamed of. Not perfect, not easy, but real. Tomorrow would be difficult. There would be questions, explanations, and emotions that would rage like storms. But tonight, for the first time in decades, I felt peace. Peace that my daughter was safe. Peace that my son was loved. Peace that I could face my fears and finally begin to heal. For the first time, I allowed myself to whisper into the darkness, "We will be okay. Somehow, we will be okay." And for the first time, I truly believed it. Narrated by Monica. The morning of the wedding was quiet, almost sacred. The sunlight streamed softly through the blinds, painting golden stripes across the living room floor. I sat in the armchair, hands folded in my lap, heart pounding. Every tick of the clock seemed amplified in the stillness. Liam was in the bedroom, dressed sharply in his suit. Alyssa, my daughter, was somewhere upstairs, preparing for the ceremony she never expected to have in this twisted, beautiful reality. I took a deep breath and whispered to the empty room, "Okay, Monica, you can do this. You have to do this." Seeing her before the ceremony, Alyssa came down the stairs, her hair done in soft curls, her white gown flowing like liquid silk. She paused at the bottom step, glancing at me with those wide, familiar eyes. "Mom," she whispered. I rose, trembling, and closed the distance between us. "You look incredible," I said, my voice cracking. "Absolutely perfect." Her lips quivered, and she reached for my hands. I couldn't have done this without you. Honestly, I don't know how to explain what it feels like having you here now." I drew her into a hug. She clung to me, and for a moment, it felt like all the lost years melted away. I could feel the warmth of my daughter, the very part of me I had never truly lost. Liam entered then, standing at the foot of the staircase, his hands slightly shaking. "Mom, Alyssa, thank you for being here, for both of you." I looked at my son, my heart swelling. "We're family," I whispered. "That's all that matters." The ceremony. The wedding was small, just family, a few close friends, and the soft hum of spring outside the window. Liam took Alyssa's hands in his, and she looked at him with love and trust. I watched from my seat, feeling tears prickle my eyes. As the officiant spoke, I felt a hand on my shoulder. I turned to see Alyssa smiling at me. "Mom," she said softly, "this is our day too." I nodded, tears streaming freely now. "Yes, baby, it is." When Liam and Alyssa exchanged vows, I felt my chest tighten and release all at once. The vows weren't just between them. They were a promise that life could be rebuilt, that love could survive even the most impossible circumstances. And when they kissed, the room erupted with applause. I clapped, laughing through tears, and hugged both of them simultaneously. For the first time in decades, I felt whole. After the ceremony, The three of us sat together in the quiet of the garden after the celebration. Liam poured drinks, Alyssa rested her head on my shoulder, and I wrapped my arms around them both. "Mom," Alyssa whispered, "I spent my whole life wondering about you. I never imagined this." "You're safe now," I said softly. "You're home now, and we'll face the future together. Whatever comes, we'll face it as family." Liam nodded, tears still in his eyes. I don't know what I'd do without you two. You're my world." I kissed both of their heads gently. "And you are mine. Always." A new beginning. That night, as I sat alone in my room reflecting on the day, I realized how far we had come. Pain had turned into healing. Confusion had turned into understanding. Guilt had turned into forgiveness. I thought about the years lost, the daughter I never held, the son I had struggled to protect, and I realized something profound. Family isn't perfect. Life isn't perfect. But love can rebuild even the most shattered hearts. And as I looked at the wedding photos the next morning, my son smiling, my daughter radiant, both of them holding hands, I whispered to myself, "We are here. We are together. And nothing can take this away." For the first time in a lifetime, I slept peacefully. The end.